This club just played the European final while their club was sinking into the mud, literally, and the board is at war with the fans. This might be one of the biggest contradictions in football history, and it just happened. The 25-26 football season will forever be etched in the collective memory of Spanish football as a campaign defined by contradictions. For Rayo Vallecano, their 102nd year of existence was their best ever. On the pitch, the club soared to unprecedented heights, shocking the continent with a UEFA Conference League Final match. That match transformed a modest neighborhood into the center of a European footballing map. Domestically, they demonstrated remarkable consistency, comfortably securing an 8th place finish in La Liga with 50 points, and navigating a grueling calendar with a very thinly stretched squad. But lurking just beneath the surface was a club, as I said, at war with itself. The structural foundations of the institutions were quite literally sinking into the mud. From the stadium of Campo de Vallecas breaking down, to the board and the fans constantly hating on each other. Despite all that, somehow this little club from a barrio of Madrid managed to defy all expectations and play a European final. Let's take a look at the story of Rayo Vallecano. Chapter 1. To truly comprehend how this team managed to be here and how it survived, even with all the issues behind the scenes, you need to look at the barrio of Vallecas itself. Situated in southeast Madrid, Vallecas is a small neighborhood housing over 300,000 residents. It was built largely on the sweat of working-class immigrants and boasts a long history of anti-fascist resistance during the Spanish Civil War. The district's identity is fiercely independent and left-wing, and the football club also follows that politics. The stadium is located so tightly into this neighborhood that a stray ball from the pitch can land in anyone's balcony, and residents who live in high-rise apartments around the stadium can watch the game for free from their windows. It's so crazy. The lifeblood of Rayo Vallecano are its supporters, particularly the highly vocal, the politically active ultra group known as Bukaneros. In an era where modern football is so heavily sanitized and corporate, the Vallecas fan base resembles a vibrant political assembly. During the match, it won't just be displaying messages about the game or supports for the players, but it would stand up for workers' rights, international solidarity, anti-racism. They are all essential part of Vallecas' identity. I'll give you an example of what happened most recently. Just before the Conference League final in Germany, a lot of Rayo fans had actually been scammed. They thought they were buying legitimate tickets to go fly to Leipzig and catch the Conference League final, but then they realized they were scammed and their money was gone. Without hesitation, as soon as the first team of Rayo Vallecano learned about this, they stepped in, raised money to help those fans that were affected, and made sure that they would go and attend the game. What other football club that's in a European final is that committed, that connected to their fan base? It's so rare to see these days. Chapter 2. We also need to talk about their stadium. The very unforgiving contrast to the fans and the fan base and the politics and the district is the incompetence surrounding the Campo de Vallecas. The nearly 15,000 capacity stadium is an iconic but decaying stadium embedded deep in the neighborhood. Because of its antics, it became an international source of embarrassment for the district of Vallecas, because people from all over the world learned about the horrors of the stadium and how it was being run. But before that, let's talk about its history for a while. Its history was very dark and complex because in 1939, it was being used as a concentration camp by General Francisco Franco's regime. But today, it's fighting a war with its own administration. I'll tell you just a few things that are wrong with the stadium. The pitch is always in horrible condition. Players constantly get injured. Players complain that they can't play on the pitch, but still the Rayo administration don't do anything about it. Most of the time, there's no electricity at the stadium. There are no hot waters in the showers. The seats are dirty. It's not been cleaned from bird poop. Fans don't have any way to buy tickets online, even to just watch a friendly game or just a small fan event. You have to stand in line for over like 10, 12 hours since the morning just to get in the queue to get some tickets or buy a season pass. It is such an archaic way of doing things for a club that's just been in a European final and whose politics resonate with so many people around the world. In February 2026, just before the fixture against Real Oviedo, Rayo Vallecano's pitch was flooded. The situation at the stadium, especially the pitch, became so embarrassing that Rayo had to move their home games for a brief period to the city rivals Leganes. They had to play a Madrid derby, technically, against Atletico Madrid at the Estadio Butarque Stadium in Leganes. Many supporters and journalists think that the club president, Raúl Martín Presa, is doing this on purpose because he believes that Rayo Vallecano should move to a newer, modern stadium. But every time he raises that question to the fans and the supporters, they say they are way too attached with the Estadio Vallecas and they don't want to move. Maybe people think Martin Presa is doing all this so that the fans finally get fed up of this mismanagement and the poor state of the stadium and vote to move to a new and modern stadium. Chapter 3. We have to talk about Íñigo Pérez, the magical manager who made this all possible. Any other manager could not do what Íñigo Pérez has done. The way the pressure was handled, the off-the-field situations were dealt with. Íñigo Pérez, the 38-year-old tactician from Pamplona, who initially took the reins in February 2024, proved to be exactly the person that the club needed. Previously, he was working at Rayo under the guidance of Andoni Iraola, who left for Bournemouth. But after Iraola's departure, Íñigo Pérez took over the reins and became the first-team manager. And the club has changed its entire course since then. Íñigo Pérez cultivated a formidable unit that routinely punched well above its financial weight in the La Liga standings, heavily relying on a dynamic 4-2-3-1 formation that somehow seamlessly transitioned into a suffocating 4-4-2 out of possession. Perez instilled a brand of high-octane vertical football. Instead of dominating sterile possession, Rayo thrived on aggressive counter-pressing and rapid transitions. They forced turnovers in the middle third and immediately sought to exploit the half spaces. This tactical blueprint yielded an impressive 1.58 points per game average across all the matches in the competitions this season. The defensive anchor. The bedrock of Rayo's European run was a remarkably resilient defensive unit, heavily reliant on the commanding presence of veteran centre-back Florian Lejeune. Lejeune was an absolute colossus in the air and a vital asset in initiating attacks from deep with his expansive passive range. Flanking him was the tenacious Romanian right-back Andrei Ratiu. Known for his blistering pace, Ratiu provided essential overlapping runs that stretched opposition defenses, all while maintaining rigorous defensive discipline against Europe's elite wingers. Behind them, Argentine goalkeeper Augusto Batalla commanded his penalty area with authority, operating as a sweeper keeper to allow the defensive line to push high up the pitch. In the center of the park, the double pivot of Oscar Valentin and Unai Lopez was the heartbeat of the team. Valentin operated as the ultimate destroyer, ranking among the top 3 in La Liga for interceptions and tackles won. His ability to break up play allowed the more technically gifted Lopez to dictate the tempo. Lopez served as the primary deep-lying playmaker, utilizing his exceptional vision to thread vertical passes through tight defensive blocks and launch devastating counterattacks. Up front, individual talents flourished under Perez's system. Winger Jorge de Frutos enjoyed a stellar domestic campaign, netting 12 goals in all competitions. His directness and ability to isolate fullbacks one-on-one made him a constant menace. Meanwhile, Sergio Camello operated as a relentless pressing forward. While his goal tally may not have mirrored the other elite strikers in Europe, his off-the-ball movement, link-up play, and tireless pressing from the front were fundamental to disrupting opposition build-ups. When matches became bogged down, Perez frequently turned to the youthful exuberance of Ilyas Akhomach, whose close control and dribbling ability off the bench frequently broke open stubborn defensive lines late in games. Chapter 4. The undisputed crown jewel of the 25-26 Rayo Vallecano season was their appearance in the UEFA Conference League Final. For an underdog team that historically was doomed to just yo-yo between the first and second divisions, competing on one of the biggest stages in European football was a surreal experience for the entire fanbase. In the league phase of the tournament, they secured automatic qualification by finishing in the top 6, which meant that they did not have to play an extra game to qualify for the knockouts. In the round of 16, they were drawn against a stubborn Turkish side in Samsunspor. After an impressive 3-1 victory on the shores of the Black Sea, they survived a tense 1-0 defeat in the home leg to narrowly advance 3-2 on aggregate. The quarterfinals were scary because they would be going up against the Greek side AEK Athens. And in fact, they did suffer a damaging 3-1 defeat away from home in the first leg. Many of my friends, many of my fellow journalists thought that that's when Rayo's European dream was dead. However, when they returned to their broken down home of Estadio Vallecas, they somehow delivered a tactical masterclass that made the entire fan base happy. Rayo dismantled the Greeks 3-0 on the night to secure a miraculous 4-3 aggregate win. Then came the semi-finals against French team Strasbourg. Again, many people thought Strasbourg was such a good opponent in the league phase. I think they were one of the best teams that qualified automatically, and this would be the end of the road for Rayo. But the semi-finals saw Rayo completely outclass Strasbourg. Relying on the defensive organization, Rayo executed a pair of highly controlled 1-0 victories, first at home, then in France, which meant that they had booked their golden ticket to the final of the Conference League. On May 28, 2026, Rayo Vallecano walked out for the first ever time in a European final, facing Premier League team Crystal Palace. Now, the gulf in quality, the gulf in the budgets, the wages, the transfer values, it was huge. Rayo would never be able to financially compete with a team like Crystal Palace. But what they could do was compete on the pitch, because when you're in the pitch, on the grass, the money, the numbers, the values, they don't matter. Only 90 minutes matter, and in those 90 minutes, what you can do. And Rayo, well, they played a proper chess match. They dominated the ball with 59% possession, completed 351 accurate passes, while Palace only did 223, and controlled the midfield tempo through the tireless work of Oscar Valentin and Unai Lopez. But in the 50th minute, Mateta for Crystal Palace found the decisive breakthrough, which was the game's only goal. And that goal only came because Batalla, the goalkeeper of Rayo, parried it straight into Mateta's feet. It was not even a goal that Rayo deserved to concede. It was a well-taken shot. Maybe Batalla could have done better, but in that situation, your head just doesn't work. You don't realize who's ahead of you, who's near you. And that one small error meant that that goal was the catalyst for Rayo Vallecano not winning the European final. They kept on trying but could not find their way past Dean Henderson, eventually losing 1-0 and breaking down in tears on the pitch. The entire district of Vallecas grieved. The fans who had traveled, made that journey to Germany, they wept. I got emotional back home here. It was just heartbreaking. The final whistle did bring heartbreak, but at least it did not bring any shame. Rayo Vallecano could be proud of the season that they had. The way they defied all odds in the pitch and off the pitch, it was just incredible to see. Rayo Vallecano proved that modern football might be increasingly dominated by state-funded clubs and billionaires investing their money, multi-club ownership models and whatnot. But a small neighborhood club with a massive conscience and an unyielding identity can still shake the foundations of the sport. The stadium in Vallecas may be crumbling, but the pride of its people and the Bukaneros never does. They remain the ultimate paradox of Spanish football. A small club from Madrid, maybe a broken club, but a club with an invincible soul. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure to follow La Liga Vic. I'll see you on the next one. Hasta luego.